Good evening, everyone. I'm Lydia Hu. Dagan McDowell has the night off.
And I'm David Asman. Welcome to The Bottom Line. Well, the races are officially on. We got Virginia, we got New Jersey, New York City. Major early voting momentum over the weekend across all three, setting the stage for crucial elections in just over a week. Candidates are hitting the trail hard in the final days of their campaigns. Let's check in on the New Jersey governor's game. Watch.
Telling the people of New Jersey who my opponent really is. She wants you to believe she's a Jersey girl. She's no Jersey girl. She wants you to believe she's a moderate. She's no moderate.
New Jersey is not a red state. New Jersey is not even a purple state. New Jersey is a blue state.
Well, early voting in the state is hot. More than 634,000 ballots cast thus far for this election. And it's a similar story across the river. Reports coming in that early turnout for the mayoral race is far surpassing that of the last race in 2021.
And that big New York energy coming as the race there tightens for mayor. A new Suffolk poll out today showing Andrew Cuomo cutting socialist Zohran Mamdani's lead in half to just 10 points. Could it be that voters are seeing the writing on the wall, that a further exodus of taxpayers isn't good for anyone, particularly for a city so deep in debt? And New York and New Jersey can't afford to lose more taxpayers. From 2012 to 2022, they were among the states losing the most people. 1.7 million fled the Empire State alone. And where are they going? En masse to red states like Florida and Texas.
Over in Virginia, we've got two major scandal-plagued races. Democrat Abigail Spanberger only holding a single-digit lead over Republican Winsome Earl Sears for governor, and Attorney General Republican Jason Miyares flipping that race in his favor, taking the lead over violent texter Jay Jones.
8 days to go, and the Democrat Party is hinging on all of these races after their shellacking in 2024 to lift their sad spirits. Listen.
One thing, Joe, that's going to happen when Abigail Spanberger wins in Virginia and Mikey Sherrill wins in New Jersey and Proposition 50 is going to pass in California and Mamdani has a big win in New York, we're going to show that this party can win. We can win back our base. We can win in rural America. We can win in suburban America. We can win with organizing. And I think the party needs that lift up in our spirits.
But let's bring in Fox News contributor and former House Oversight Committee Chairman Jason Chaffetz and Fox and Friends Weekend co-host Charlie Hurt to discuss all this. All right, Charlie, let's do something that you don't hear a lot of on the campaign trail. Bring some facts in to the situation, particularly from Mamdani, who keeps talking about everything for free. He's going to spend money on this, spend money on that, and everything. One thing he can't spend money on is money to bring back the millions of taxpayers that already have left. Since 2012, we have lost 1.7 million taxpayers from New York, going to states like Texas, and they've taken billions, $500 billion of income with them to the various states that they've gone to. There's one simple reason why. I mean, it's not rocket science. We have a tax rate in New York City, combined city and state tax rate of 14.77%. Florida, 0. Texas, 0. You can't beat that. And he wants to raise taxes even more, the same taxes that led to almost 2 million people leaving. It's very simple, isn't it?
It should be, and I don't think a single one of those people who has fled New York over the taxes and over Democrat policies is sitting there hitting themselves in the head right now saying, oh, man, I should have stuck around for Mamdani's policies.
That's cruel. You're right.
And so kind of the problem here is that exodus of voters out of New York probably ends up actually helping him a little bit because all of the sane people have already begun leaving. The sad thing is that there are still some sane people left in New York, and he's probably going to drive the rest of them out with all of these policies. But the most important thing, I think, about all of this, and you touched on it right here, is that the rise of Mamdani in New York is not a rejection of sane Republican, conservative, policies. It's a rejection of decades of Democrat governance. They've tried the socialism light in New York City, and this is the result. And now they're just going to go full-blown communism.
I wonder, too, if there's kind of some similar trend going on in New Jersey right across the river right now, Jason, because, we see that the race there between Republican candidate Chitterelli and the Democrat candidate is getting very tight. And in recent days, we are seeing actually some Democrats throwing their support behind the Republican candidate. And one has to wonder if that has to do with taxes and the cost of living in New Jersey, which has just escalated tremendously in recent years. Energy prices are a major concern, and that's really an indictment on the Democrat Party, too. It seems like, Trump in the last election came within 6 points of winning New Jersey when he had lost in 2020 to Biden, 16 points. So he narrowed there, and he's also throwing his support behind Chitterelli. Jason, I'm curious about what your thoughts about how the landscape of the New Jersey race is looking.
Well, first of all, Jack Chitterelli is just an exceptional candidate. He really is a good candidate. And you're right, the energy issue in particular in New Jersey is a big, big issue. And so if you want fresh thoughts, you want fresh ideas, you want somebody who's not scandal-ridden like his opponent is, somebody who actually is competent and can do the job, then people are going to go for the Republican in this case, in Jack Chitterelli. And did Ro Khanna actually say that this election would demonstrate that Democrats could win in rural middle America states? I mean, that was almost laughable. And going back to New York, by the way, I totally concur with what Charlie said. But let's understand that New York City has a $117 billion budget, and Mamdani is already saying what we're going to do is raise taxes that much more because $117 billion just ain't enough.
Yeah, and I want to get to this as well, because after years of calling Trump's rigged election claims dangerous and a threat to democracy and all that, now House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, even before the election, is calling the GOP's redistricting push an effort to rig the 2026 midterms. Listen.
You said Democrats, there are no election deniers on our side of the aisle. You said that back in January. But recently, you've been using the term rigged elections in reference to the upcoming midterm.
No, I've been using that term in the context of Donald Trump's unprecedented effort to gerrymander congressional maps in a partisan fashion all across the country in order to rig the midterm elections.
You know, Democrats are also going through gerrymandering and redistricting.
Well, Democrats are going to push back aggressively to make sure that we have fair maps across the country, not partisan gerrymandering.
Now, first of all, Charlie, it was kind of interesting to see pushback from somebody who usually doesn't push back against Democrats and the newly reorganized CBS News team. So that's kind of interesting. But the BS that's been coming out on this whole redistricting, when in fact the Democrats have been doing it for decades, going back way back to dozens and dozens of years in California and elsewhere, it's just catching up with them. All the lies are catching up with them.
Yeah, the thing that I think really makes them mad is the fact that they have gotten caught with their hand in the cookie jar. As you point out, they have been the masters of gerrymandering across the country going back decades. And it's gotten so bad to the point where, and I love that the Voting Rights Act is now before the Supreme Court after many, many years of their abuse of that system in order to not provide fairness, but rather to just build Democrat districts. And I think what they're really mad about is that Republicans are finally kind of standing up saying, okay, actually, you know what, we're going to try to play this game too. And I would love to have normal districts all over the place and not have any of this nonsense going on. But if Democrats are going to do it and do it so skillfully as they have for so long, I don't think it's particularly unfair for Republicans to stand up and say, let's try to do this. And of course, what they're doing in Virginia is just absolutely shocking, especially when you listen to somebody like Hakeem Jeffries say, oh, it's so bad what Republicans are doing.
Absolutely.
So bad that what the Republicans are doing, Jason, that Gavin Newsom wants to do it even more over in California by pushing Proposition 60, putting that on the ballot, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had it the other way. Then they had to have an independent commission, like there's ever going to be an independent commission. Now they want to get rid of that because they want to go full throttle on it. So it just shows how principled they are. Look at the state of Utah. We have 4 Republican representatives. Well, Democrats have 14% voter registration in this state, and they tend to think, oh, well, hey, we got to gerrymander that because why don't the Democrats have a seat? Well, you have 14% of the population, so there's probably a reason why you don't have 25% of the actual vote that's coming out of Utah. But it's silly season. Hakeem Jeffries saying that Donald Trump's trying to rig it. He was trying to scare people going into the polls, coming this next Tuesday, and he got caught. And hats off to CBS for calling him out on it.
Yeah, well, it's again, the lies have become so obvious now that there's no way you can't bring them up when they try it again. Jason, Charlie, great to see you both. Thank you very much for being here.
Great to see you.